Hi, welcome back again to Intermediate Excel 2007. This is lesson number 8, Absolute and Relative References Part 2. We're in a workbook called Absolute and we're on a worksheet called Timesheet. Here in cell C4 we need to write a formula to calculate the amount of money due to Bob after he's worked 35 hours at a basic rate of $18.50 an hour. We need a relative reference to Bob's hours, so as we fill it down it will look at Bill's hours and Ann's hours and Jill's hours. But we need an absolute reference to the rate, so that we fill it down, it continues to look at the rate in cell B14. So the formula is going to be that this cell equals this cell here, B4, times, and we need an absolute reference to B14, so we type $B $14. When we hit the tick up here, or hit the enter key on the keyboard, we get an answer of $647.50. It's B4 times $B $14. And as I fill it down, people who work more hours will get more money, and people who work less hours get less money. The formula in the next cell underneath, Bill's one, is B5 times $B $14. And Ann's is B6 times $B $14. No matter how far down we go, it keeps looking at B14. To work out the amount of money due to Bob for his 5 hours of overtime, this cell has to equal the number of hours he worked as a relative reference, so it will look at Bill's hours and Ann's hours and Jill's hours as we fill it down. So that's D4 times an absolute reference to the overtime rate in B15. So that's going to be $B $15. Again, when we hit the tick or hit the enter key, we get an answer of $138.75. It's D4, the number of hours he worked, times $B $15, the overtime rate. And as we fill it down, people who work more overtime get more money, people who work less overtime will get less money. And Jill, who worked no overtime, gets no money, but she still has the right formula. It doesn't matter how far down it fills, it will keep looking at B15. To work out the amount of money due for double time, maybe this business was open on Sunday or a public holiday, this cell equals the amount of double time hours that Bob worked, which is F4, times an absolute reference to the double time rate in B16. So it's going to be $B $16. And again, hitting the tick or hitting the enter key would give us an answer of 148. It's F4, the number of hours, the double time hours Bob worked, times the absolute reference to the double time rate. As I fill it down, again, people who work more double time get more money, and people who work less got less. The total hours is just the addition of the hours that Bob worked, and we want to fill it down to see how many hours Bill worked and Ann worked. We don't need to have any dollar signs or absolute references in it at all. So this cell equals Bob's hours in B4 plus his overtime hours in D4 plus his double time hours in F4. Again, hitting the tick gives me an answer of 44. It's B4 plus D4 plus F4. No absolute references. Filling it down, we find that some people worked more hours for the week than Bob, and some people worked less hours. To work out the total amount of money due for Bob, we just need to add up the amount of money in the 3 columns over here. So this cell is equal, this first amount of money is in cell C4, again hitting the plus key on the keyboard. The second amount of money for his overtime is in E4, plus his double time money in cell G4. Hitting the enter key would give me an answer of $934.25. It's C4 plus E4 plus G4. No dollar signs, so that when I fill it down, it's going to look at C5 plus E5 plus G5 and C6 plus E6 plus G6, etc., etc. On the currency worksheet, here we need to select cell B14, and we need to write a formula here to multiply the amount of money we have in currency exchange rate, for the US dollars, and by the amount of money we have, which is in only one cell, D3. Make this a bit bigger so we can see it. So this cell equals a relative reference to B4, so it's just B4, times, and we want an absolute reference to D3, so it's going to be $D $3. Again, when I hit the tick, I get an answer of 0.59. Multiplying 0.59 by 1 gives me 0.59, and when I fill it down, all the numbers on the bottom half of the screen are exactly the same as the numbers on the top because they've been multiplied by 1. If I change that number 1 to the number 1,000, I can see $1,000 Australian when the exchange rate was 59 would have given me $590 to spend at Disneyland. I've opened up a worksheet called, oh sorry, not a worksheet, a web page called www.exe.com. Down the bottom of this, on there's a spot here to change the different currencies. I'm going to choose Aussie dollars to US dollars and hit go. And this afternoon, that's come in at 0.86. So back here, I'm going to change this to 0.86. And when I hit the enter key down the bottom, I've got a fair bit more to spend at Disneyland.